I came to the realization that I somehow haven't covered this subject yet, and it's about high time to remedy that problem. So when and why did each of the Six Flags fly over Texas soil?
The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas.
We're going to do this in historical order. It seems a smart way to do it, and as such, we're starting with the first flag over Texas, Spain. Granted, yes, human habitation in Texas dates back over 10,000 years, but they didn't have flags as far as we know, so that means we're starting with Spain. Technically, the date given for the beginning of Spain's rule over Texas is 1519. This comes from an expedition by Alonso Alvarez de Pineda, who was the first European to map out the Gulf Coast as well as figure out that Florida was not in fact an island. By the way, his expedition was attacked and destroyed by natives, with only some of the men's belongings and their burned ships being left when the search parties that had been sent to look for them arrived. They were able to find this map that was made, and Texas was brought under the Spanish flag, more specifically this Spanish flag. Yes, it is the flag of Castile and Leon, but it's what was used by Spain at the time. See, here's Columbus using it. Remember, Spain technically didn't exist until 1516. Now, typically what was flown in New Spain was the Cross of Burgundy flag, which is this one. So as far as the actual flag that flew over Texas soil, it was probably this. But the modern Spanish flag introduced in 1785 is more often than not the one that people think of, and is the flag flown at the amusement parks. Now, Spain didn't do much with Texas, mostly because they didn't figure they needed to. The Pope had split the New World between them and Portugal. Why would they worry about anyone trying to settle in their land? Adding to this, they weren't having the best luck with many of the native tribes, imagine that, and they didn't even establish anything meant to be a permanent settlement until they got a scare from France, which of course brings us to the French.
I don't know how France got in there.
France got there when they established a colony at Fort San Louis. This was done as part of an expedition in 1685 by La Salle, who was looking to establish a colony at the mouth of the Mississippi River, but got a tad off course and set it up about 400 miles from there. It's believed that this is the flag that flew over that fort, so it's the one typically part of the Six Flags. Fort San Louis lasted about 3 years, 1 year longer than La Salle, who was killed during a mutiny while on a voyage, after which the colony was more or less ignored by France and left to their own devices, which was not good for the colonists, seen as disease, starvation, and attacks from the local Karankawa tribe ended up doing them in with fewer than 20 of the original almost 200 settlers surviving. So even though the colony only lasted 3 years and was a failure, it still put a French flag over Texas soil. And if nothing else, it made Spain go, hey, maybe we should do something with all that land up there. In fact, most of the mapping of Texas by the Spanish were done from expeditions sent to find and destroy Fort San Luis, a feat that they would eventually achieve when the Spanish found the abandoned colony, burned the buildings to the ground. Then in 1722, they built their own Presidio La Bahia in the same spot. So Texas is still part of New Spain under the Spanish flag. That is until Mexico had itself a revolution and won independence from Spain in 1821, thereby establishing Texas, or Tejas, as part of Mexico. Now, 3 Mexican flags would have been flown at different points over Tejas. First, the Mexican independence flag that was replaced in 1821 by this version of the Mexican national flag, which itself was replaced in 1823 by this version. The state of Tejas was actually merged with the state of Coahuila to form Coahuila y Tejas. This is what their flag supposedly looked like. That is until they were separated in 1835 by the new system that Santa Anna set up, abolishing the Mexican Constitution and causing multiple Mexican states, including Tejas, Coahuila, Nuevo Leon, and Tabasco, to secede from the country. Of these, only Tejas was able to win its permanent independence from Mexico, occurring in 1836, meaning we get a new flag for the Republic of Texas. The original Burnett flag that lasted from 1836 to 1839 before the Lone Star version we know today was adopted until 1845, when it became the Texas state flag. At that point in 1845, the Republic of Texas became the state of Texas and part of the United States, so yeah, we get ourselves another flag. At that point, it looked like this because of the number of states. This lasted until early 1861, when Texans voted to leave the Union and join the Confederate States of America, costing them Sam Houston Houston, yeah, George Washington of the Texas Revolution, Sam Houston, as governor after he refused to take an oath to the Confederacy, but gaining them their sixth flag, the Confederate flag, which lasted until 1865 when Texas again came under the flag of the United States. Though it should be noted that Texas was not officially restored as part of the Union by Congress until 1870. As far as which Confederate flag flew over the state, well, the one flown the most often was this one here, the original Confederate Stars and Bars flag. So, Spain from 1519 to 1821, France from 1684 to 1690, Mexico from 1821 to 1836, the Republic of Texas from 1836 to 1845, the United States from 1845 to 1861, and then back again in 1865, and the Confederate States from 1861 to 1865 are your six flags that have flown over Texas. Granted, yes, it is more like 14 flags over Texas, but only 6 nations, so that's what we go with. Oh, and it does bear mentioning some towns and cities in West Texas fly this flag. Remember earlier when I mentioned that Tejas wasn't the only state to rebel against Mexico? Yeah, well, 3 of those states ended up banding together in 1840 and established the Republic of the Rio Grande, which only lasted 283 days, or roughly the length of Barry Windham's 88 to 89 U.S. title reign. The capital of this short-lived republic was Laredo, who still today uses a version of the flag as their city flag. And yes, it was intentionally designed to look like the Texas flag because of course they gotta be like us. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll see y'all next time.